This is one of my local hikes that I do fairly often. By no means is it a popular hike, but that could be a good thing because you don't see a lot of people if you want to kind of get away from it. We're here in Crystal Cove State Park in Southern California. Let me show you what the hike is all about. So this is a loop hike. It's about 2 or 3 hours, just under 6 miles, and about 1,000 feet of climbing. We're starting up at Coastal Peak Park. We're going down No Name Ridge and then doing a loop around the other side up the Rattlesnake Trail and then back to the start. Now the trail starts at this dead end right here, and you park along the street. Unlike the other entrances, there is no fee to park here. There's also a parking lot with a bathroom and a water fountain, but you're going to head right to the end, this little cul-de-sac to start the hike. Now this is the trailhead. This is Pacific Ridge Trailhead, and at the gate here at the end of the cul-de-sac, we're just going to make the right-hand turn onto the nice wide trail, and this is Pacific Ridge Trail, which is pretty popular up here. You're going to see a lot of people just going for walks, and you're going to get these incredible views into Crystal Cove State Park, and you also see the trail unfurling in front of you in the distance. Now, one of the highlights of this hike are the ocean views. We're up high, around 1,000 feet or so. We're going to get some pretty incredible views. In the distance there is Catalina and the haze off to the right. And then into the park is a beautiful example of very rare coastal scrub habitat. Now, all of Southern California looked similar to this at one point, but obviously it's been mostly developed. This area was saved in the 1960s and 70s by a group of folks in Laguna Beach. At one point, there was an effort to make this a national park, the Orange Coast National Park. That never panned out, so instead it's just a series of local and state parks now making up what's called the Laguna Greenbelt. Now, once we reach this gate, we're going to officially enter Crystal Cove State Park. This trail, I think, was partially on OC Parks, Orange County Parks, but here at the gate, we're in Crystal Cove State Park. And once we pass into the park, we're going to pass our first junction, the Ticatron Trail, which goes down to Deer Canyon and Deer Canyon Campground, down to the left. We're not going there, but that is a nice single track. If for some reason you wanted to bail out and make this shorter, you could go down there and pick up the hike later, a shorter little loop. We're going to go straight, and Pacific Ridge Trail becomes No Name Ridge Trail once we're in Crystal Cove Park. And as you go down, you're going to see it's a bit of a roller. There's some ups and downs. No big climbs on this hike, just a lot of these rolling type hills. In this section, you're going to see some habitat blocked off, saved for the coastal cactus wren, which is an endangered species you only find in this type of scrubland. Keep your eyes open for them. I didn't see any this day, but I did see this cute little California towhee. I think that's what it is, but lots of wildlife here on this hike. Now you notice that No Name starts to go down a little bit more as we continue, and if you look over to the left, you're going to see a trail in the distance. That's the Rattlesnake Trail that we'll be going up later. It looks a little scarier than it is when you're actually on it. Then we're going to pass the entrance to Muddy Canyon on our right-hand side. We're going to keep on going past that. And we're just going to go straight until we get to the junction with the West Cut Across Trail, and we're going to make a left here, hop off of No Name Ridge, and go down West Cut Across. This is also known as Mach 1 by the mountain bikers that speed down here. We're only on this for a few minutes of downhill, and then we're going to look for the next left onto the Rattlesnake Trail. The Rattlesnake Trail. And this is a single track, and we're going to make the left. You can see there are signs here. It's all well marked. And also there are these trail maps. The rivet is where you are, that rivet in the middle with the red on it. That's where we are on the trail. Now, the Rattlesnake Trail has a different feel than the trails we were on before. This is mainly a single track. It's not traveled much, and it's a little more primitive. You can see there's this big ditch here. You can go through it, or you can do what I did, just try to jump over it. And then we have that climb that I showed you earlier when we were coming down No Name. It's, like I said, it's steep, but not as bad as it looks, and you're going to get nice views down into the valley as we continue uphill here. And at the top where these utility poles are, there's a side trail off to the right to the utility pole. We're going to bear left. Left is the Rattlesnake Trail, and you can see it's much different than the trails we were on before. As we hike up to the high points of the Rattlesnake Trail, start to get some great views as we come up here again. Sailboats, sometimes you can see whales in the distance. It's really an incredible place to hike here in Crystal Cove. Then we get up to this flat part. This is very close to the geographic center of Crystal Cove State Park. And there's a cool rock in the middle where you can climb up onto and look around you, get nice views of the entire park, a lot of the trails, some of the surrounding parks. Really nice. And you can even see all the way up to the Coastal Peak Park where we started the hike earlier from this point. And when you're done looking around, you're just going to continue on the Rattlesnake Trail. It's kind of rolling. All the climbing is pretty much done on this trail. And obviously look above you. You can almost always see some kind of a raptor, a hawk, or a falcon, a kestrel. They have them all here. Sometimes even eagles or osprey. And the next trail is actually called Red Tail Ridge because of these hawks. Next trail junction is the Tickertron Trail. This is the one we passed earlier. This is the other end of it. And if you look back down into the canyon there, you'll see a little campground. That's Deer Canyon Campground, which you can book on the Crystal Cove website. There's also other campgrounds here that offer ocean views. If you want to do that, you can camp here. And once we get past that junction, the trail is now called Red Tail Ridge Trail. And shortly after that junction, we're going to come back out of Crystal Cove State Park and back into the OC Park system. Up ahead is Bomber Ridge. We're going to make a left on Bomber Ridge, and you'll see it's still well marked. There are still maps and still trail signs and all of that goodness, but we're going to go ahead and make the left onto Bomber Ridge and do the last little section back to the start. Now, as we wind around Bomber Ridge, you're going to come to a high point here. You can get some nice views down into Tustin, and that big building is a blimp hangar. They built that during World War II to house the blimps, which did sub patrols and that kind of stuff. All built out of wood because they needed steel for ships and tanks. And there were two of them. Tragically, one burnt down recently, and it was a pretty big deal. But you can see it from this trail as you continue. And we just have a short stretch up in the distance. There is the end of the hike at Coastal Peak Park. Short distance downhill, a little bit of an uphill. And here we are back at the parking area where we started the hike earlier. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. And a big thank you to everyone who supports this channel and makes trail guides like this possible. I could not do it without your help. So thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed the scenery. Hopefully you get to do the hike. And I will see you out on the trails.